Good morning and welcome to a cold, rainy day at Rockmont. So good to be with you again. Last Thursday, I had a wonderful opportunity to hike with a couple of Rockmonters. Grant and Ryan Kleber were up in the mountains, away from their home in Miami, and we got to take a hike. It was so good to be able to see somebody face to face during this Zoom time. We went on this hike on the Parkway. One of the great things about winter around here is that the Parkway is closed, big sections of it, because of the ice. And so we got to walk down the Parkway, through a long tunnel, and then we headed up the mountain. We climbed to about 4,500 feet, and up there is this place called Rainbow Lodge. It was this estate that was built at the turn of the century. You get up there and you're amongst all these ruins. It burned in the 1920s. And you see the place where the big house was, you see a place where the tennis courts were. There was actually a natural pool that they had, a yard, spring house, tool house. It was really neat to be up there. Ruins can be good teachers. They help us remember to be present to our here and now because time is passing. One of the core elements of our programs at Rockmont, part of the Rockmont Way, is seen in the Catalyst program as asking for three things. The first one is to show up. The second one is to be fully present, or as fully present as you can be. And the third one is to say yes. To say yes to adventure, to say yes to challenge, to say yes to fun. For our campers, it's another big ask to yes. Say yes to friendship. Say yes to new skills. Say yes to new food. Say yes to devotions. Say yes to showing up each day. In the Bible, in Ecclesiastes, it talks about there being a time for everything. Solomon, this wise man, writes this. He said, there's a time for everything, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot, a time to tear down and a time to build, a time to weep and a time to last. The link to this hymn about paradox is a time. Again and again and again, we realize we're in a time right now where we have to be as fully awake as possible. Walter Brueggemann, an Old Testament scholar and theologian, writes a prayer that always stirs me. The prayer is simply called yes. Let me read a little bit of this. He writes this: "You are the God who is simple, direct, clear with us and for us. You have committed yourself to us, and you have said yes to us in creation, yes to us in our birth, yes to us in our baptism, and yes to us in our awakening this day. But we are of another kind, more accustomed to perhaps, maybe, and will see." My hope for all of us is that we live fully into a yes, not only to our reality, but a yes to God. Brueggemann ends the prayer with this: "So we pray for your mercy this day that we may say and live a yes back to you. Yes with our time, yes with our money, yes with our sexuality, yes with our strength and our weakness, yes to our neighbor, yes and no longer perhaps." As we continue to live in our time, let's be yes people. Let us, as that prayer says, let us value this time and say yes. So young men, yes to teacher work days and yes to algebra. Yes to sunny days and yes to the many rainy days. Yes to our neighbor, yes to our enemy. Yes, yes, yes. One of the things that Grant and Ryan and I noticed at the end of our hike as we're walking through the ruins, that there were rubble piles all over that represented buildings that once were. And in the spring house we noticed, the thing that remains is the spring was still running. You'll find as you say yes to God and yes to your life, that this spring, this deep well that God has given us will continue to run. May we live a yes this day, this week, and this new year. Be well.